Well, good morning, everybody. It's Tuesday morning. It's the 22nd Annual Women Leadership Conference. We are excited that it's Tuesday. I hope that you have your coffee. You're ready to hear an amazing speaker. Thank you for being a part of this wonderful event. I'm Tammy Howe with Premier USA, and I'm the Women's Leadership Conference Committee Chair. I would like to start off by thanking our sponsors. As always, we could not host this event without them. Our presenting sponsor is Muskogee Creek Nation Casino. Our host sponsor is Indian Capital Technology Center. Speaker sponsor is OG&E, First Star, Green Country Behavioral Health Services, Georgia Pacific, Northeastern State University, Refresco, Connor State College, and Love Bottling. This week's speakers are sponsored by OG&E, and I'm excited to welcome our speaker today, Dr. Jadyn Crooch. Dr. Jadyn Crooch, PT, is a doctor of physical therapy, pelvic and health specialist, and private practice owner of women's health and physical therapy. She has dedicated her career in helping women feel strong and confident in their bodies. Jadyn grew up in Chakota, Oklahoma. She completed her bachelor in nutritional sciences at Oklahoma State University and obtained a doctor in physical therapy at the University of Oklahoma's Health Science Center. Jadyn's career has included management for hospital-based inpatient and outpatient physical therapy departments, teaching as a professor for anatomy, physiology, and nutrition, and professional athlete injury managed with the Tulsa Ballet. Jadyn's passion for accessibility, quality care, and patient education led her to open a private practice in Bixby, Oklahoma. Women's health and physical therapy is a direct care clinic built with women in mind. She would love to be a resource for you. That's a lot of verbiage and a wonderful bio. We welcome Dr. Jadyn Crooch this morning.
Hello, thank you so much, Tammy, for having me. Can you hear me okay? Okay, I'm going to share my screen here. Okay, I hope everything looks great on you all's end. If not, please let me know. Okay, so today I want you all to think about the thing you are investing time and money into. And I'm going to give you a few examples. You may be investing time into your company and money into your 401k. You may be investing time into your kids' extracurricular activities and especially money into those activities. You may be investing time into renovating your home and financial investment in your mortgage and those renovations. You may be investing time and money into building a business that takes your whole heart and soul. Now, what do all of those things have in common? They require you to be physically healthy. So now let's think of all of those things. If you get to retirement and you do not have your physical health, maybe you can't go on the vacation you've dreamed of. If you have your kiddos and you see their lives blossom and they grow older and they have kiddos, if you are not well, you may not be able to continue enjoying your kids that you have invested in. If you have your home and you have done the renovations, you've gotten to the next home, you're planning on doing it again, you may not be able to if you're not physically well. And last, your business. If you are not physically well, we all know that it requires showing up in your full self to be your most productive. So, what is your greatest asset that you may have been ignoring? It may be your physical health. And a lot of people think of physical health as self-care. It's kind of this luxury. But what if we shifted that and we thought of our physical health as our greatest asset? So I'm so glad you guys are having me today. My name is Dr. Jadyn Crooch. I am a physical therapist and I own Women's Health and Physical Therapy in Bixby. Muskogee has always been near and dear to my heart. I grew up in Chakota, Oklahoma, and Muskogee plays a big role in my story that you guys are going to learn today. So I grew up driving to Muskogee every Thursday night, starting probably from the age 3 onto adulthood because I took dance classes at a studio there in Muskogee that was so wonderful. And because of my background in ballet and dancing, it surrounded me in a different mindset of women. That mindset was not always healthy. There is a big stigma with ballet dancers and nutritional wellness. And so I knew that studying disordered eating was something that I wanted to do going into my beginning of college career. So at Oklahoma State University, I went into a degree in nutrition, as you heard earlier. And this degree created this curiosity about what does disordered eating do to us, not only from a nutritional lens but from a musculoskeletal lens. And this is what propelled me into my career as a doctor of physical therapy, where I went on to the University of Oklahoma Health Sciences Center to study that there. And so once I graduated as a physical therapist, I'm all gung ho about helping women through nutritional challenges, through musculoskeletal challenges, and had the opportunity to start in private practice and then transition into hospital-based care. And the resounding theme from patients in a hospital-based facility is they really crave something that is personalized, something that is one-on-one, an environment where they really feel like they can heal. And I think this is especially important to women, especially having a place that is somewhat private when we're talking about my specialty care, pelvic floor dysfunctions. Those are often very intimate conversations that patients would prefer to have in a private setting. And so once I began teaching, I realized, okay, I think that this is the time to move forward with a private practice to not only hopefully fulfill the needs of patients, but also to fulfill the needs of students as they come into a job market in the future, that I really hope that there is space for this higher standard of care. So now that you know why I'm here and why I'm so passionate about women's health, I want to talk about how this can actually change your life and your business, because I truly believe that health is a financial strategy. So earlier we talked about different things that you have invested in. And when thinking about those investments, if you are not in your optimal health, we know that you may have lower energy, which reduces your productivity. We know that having a health condition can be very stressful, and this stress reduces your resiliency to different problems that may come your way as a business owner. If you are in pain of any sort, and I see this in all different capacities in my clinic, but pain is very distracting. Say you have low back pain in a meeting. Well, the whole time you're sitting there, you may be fidgeting or moving because that pain is so distracting. Think about trying to create something new and exciting for your business when you have neck pain and a headache that's really clouding your vision. And then for women, especially, urinary dysfunctions and bowel dysfunctions can lead to avoidance and isolation. And this looks like a few different things for women. So, when we're thinking about urinary and bowel dysfunctions, the things that typically come to mind is urinary urgency or urinary incontinence. And both of these things can prevent you, say you're in real estate, from closing the meeting because you have to go early, you have to run home. It can prevent you from taking the call because you're in the restroom. It can prevent you from wearing the outfit that you feel really good about to exude confidence to close a sale as a real estate agent because that outfit doesn't accommodate the undergarments that may work for you. So all of this really does impact our business and our overall mental and physical wellness. So that's why I think health is a financial strategy. As leaders, we spend so much of our time investing in our careers, our family, and our financial health. But if our physical health does not match that investment, it all falls to the wayside. So, when thinking about health as a physical, um, health as our greatest asset, already have your mind kind of turning around what are some things that you would deem as valuable related to your physical health? Because we're going to look at those and kind of talk about why it's going to change longevity and your wellness in the future. So, physical health, most people, when I talk to them, think of two things. They think of acute injuries. So, say you had on a cute pair of heels, you're walking down the sidewalk, you roll your ankle, now you suddenly have an ankle sprain. They often think, oh, that's a physical health problem. Or they think of post-operative problems. So somebody falls, tears their rotator cuff, and has surgery to repair it. And then they go through this rehabilitative process to improve their shoulder. And so all those things are physical health problems, but they often don't last very long. And there is this resolution and time kind of carved out in normal day to day life for those problems. And usually, others around you are very receptive to those problems. But let's shift that lens of physical health and talk about less common things that maybe aren't as widely accepted, especially as women. So, when we're thinking about things like longevity and physical health, maybe we're thinking about how our muscle mass is going to create the walking speed we need to complete whatever task we have at hand. If we don't have that walking speed, is that something that you would feel comfortable even communicating to someone? And this isn't the case. A perfect example is a patient who is so beautiful, so talented, so smart, and has spent the last 40 years creating a catering business that is so incredible, has started seeing me because she was no longer able to walk with any type of food tray or bag or all of these things from a tear in her deep hip. And so, seemingly, that seems like something that you would heal from. Well, because of her age, because of her comorbidities, it may not be something that heals to its previous state, and that greatly impacts her ability to perform work tasks, and has caused a great amount of of mental distress as well because she wants to be the person that she has always been, understandably so. So thinking about walking speed is one of three indicators for overall mortality rates, especially in women. And so what does that mean? If we look at someone across the lifespan, their likelihood of passing away in those later years is indicated by three measures that you can track throughout the lifespan. And walking speed or gait speed is one of those. The faster a patient walks, the more indicative of their longevity. Grip strength is also an indicator of longevity. And you may be thinking about, okay, how does the grip that I'm exuding change my overall longevity? So, grip strength is highly correlated with lean body mass in its entirety. And lean body mass serves several functions that I want to dive into that I think are really fascinating, but I will get a little nerdy and kind of get into the physiology. It's just par for the course as a physiology teacher. So, lean muscle mass serves several different functions. What we often think of is joint protection. When we have muscles around our joints, it improves our ability to use those joints and prevent osteoarthritic changes. But what a lot of us don't think about is how lean muscle mass reduces insulin resistance or improves insulin sensitivity. And it improves our ability to manage glucose. So, diabetes and blood sugar is all the rage right now, especially with the talk of GLP-1s. I won't get into that, but I do want to talk a little bit about what is blood sugar, how do we manage it, why are we concerned about it? Because this is something that it's not just important for diabetics, it's important for everyone, and especially working moms. And let me give you this example. So, you've got all the kids ready for school. You packed their lunches. You fed them breakfast. You just had a coffee. You jumped into the car, dropped them off. You've got a meeting. You skip lunch. You're not going to make it till the next meal at dinner, maybe. And during this time, you are running around using energy that your muscles require glucose for throughout the day. So, glucose is sugar. And let's talk about how it enters the body and then how this makes sense with our overall health. So, picture you've just had your Diet Coke or regular Coke, and it goes into the mouth, down the esophagus, into the stomach. It then goes into the small intestine. At that time, that soda is going to take its sugar from the small intestine and goes into the bloodstream. The pancreas, it gives off insulin, and that insulin binds to the sugar to take it to the muscles to be used for energy. So, lean muscle mass is our greatest storage of something called glycogen, which is just the form of sugar that stays there for a long time. And because lean muscle mass is our greatest store of glycogen, the more lean muscle mass we have, the better ability our body is at managing insulin and glucose, which inevitably improves our blood sugar so that we have better metabolic health. So now let's circle back to grip strength. If grip strength is an indicator of overall lean muscle mass, it can ultimately be an indicator of metabolic health and longevity. The last thing on our list here is quadricep diameter. All that means is the diameter of your thighs. So, why is quadricep diameter an indicator of longevity, especially in women? Quadricep diameter is associated with leg strength. The stronger your legs are, the less likely you are to fall. And if you do fall, you have protection. And that protection is going to help maintain your longevity. So, why do I mention all of these things about longevity and injuries? It's because I think it's important that we shift our lens from only thinking of physical health as an acute injury manager, but we think about it as something we prioritize as our greatest asset to build longevity within ourselves and within our businesses. And physical therapists are very in tune with identifying these factors. So I put this pulley system here as a visual of what physical therapists really do, because I know oftentimes it's kind of ambiguous what we do. So our bread and butter is looking at something called biomechanics of a joint, which is essentially a length tension relationship. So this pulley here, I want you to see that light blue, which is the center point of the pulley. Picture that as your elbow. And the rope on either side of the pulley is your bicep in the front of your arm and your tricep in the back of the arm. So when you move your bicep and tricep, your elbow bends and straightens. This length tension relationship is what creates a healthy elbow. But what if one side of the string had more tension than the other? The rope would come off the pulley track, and repetitive tension on the rope would lead to fraying or degradation of that rope at the pulley. And so our joints are the same way. And this is really how physical therapists assess movement and longevity, because we look at these length tension relationships and decide if any of these factors will be a problem or an injury risk in the future. So now that we've talked about all the important things of, okay, we want to be really strong, we want to have thighs that can support us. We want to have strong grip strength. How do we get that? There's so much information out there on how to be healthy, and it can be very confusing and it can seem very costly. And that is one of my biggest goals in life, is to combat that theory that fitness has to be complex and costly, because it is absolutely not true. So, fitness without strategy yields minimal results. This is something we all fall into. We get excited about a trend, we're going to try it. We do that trend on and off a couple times, but without strategy, we don't see results, and then it is something that we don't want to continue because there's no positive reinforcement. So I want to highlight here that if you are 30 plus, you may be losing 5% of your lean body mass every year. Oh, it seems like a lot. If you are 50 plus, you may be losing 10% of your lean body mass every year. So, this is why integrating a fitness strategy into your overall assets, whether it's financial assets or time as an asset, is going to be the pivoting point to a life and a business that has longevity, because you can see the loss is inevitable here and we have to do something to combat it. So I've put a little note here that I think's worth highlighting. Consistent progressive overload has the ability to increase muscle fiber hypertrophy. So what does that mean? Muscle fibers are what create our lean muscle mass. Hypertrophy means to grow. So thinking back to that quadricep diameter, if we progressively overload our quadricep consistently, we will inevitably grow the quadricep and improve our quadricep diameter, which lowers the risk of falls, and if you do fall, lowers the risk of injury. This can happen with no fancy equipment, low cost, and it's a huge investment in your financial future. So, thinking about strength and cardiovascular health, I want to highlight a few different parameters and give you examples on how this can be easily integrated into your already existing routine. Because adding something to your to-do list, especially as women, our to-do lists are so long, it's not often possible or even motivating to want to add one more thing. So, a couple of highlights here is that why do we want to work on our cardiovascular health? If we're not regularly running marathons, is it even really important? Yes, it is. So, one type of cardiovascular training is called Zone 2 training. And what this means is it is a set heart rate or exertion level that will improve set parameters in your health. So zone 2 training, I put it in this far right bottom column here, is defined by your heart rate. So you can take 220 minus your age, get a number, and then you can take 60% of that number. That is your recommended zone 2 heart rate. The American recommendation is to get 150 minutes of this zone 2 training a week to improve your cardiovascular health. But what's not talked about is how it improves your nervous system health. So when we think about the nervous system, there's kind of two things that we often think about. There is something called the parasympathetic nervous system, which is our rest and digest. It's my favorite place to be. Or there's our sympathetic nervous system. This is our fight or flight. This is often where our lives live very unintentionally because we have this go, go, go lifestyle. And that's not wrong. And there's not a whole lot of things we can often do to change that lifestyle because we do have busy schedules, we do have busy jobs, we do have families that demand and need us. And so I don't necessarily think that changing our lives is the goal, but I think adding something to balance our lives is very doable. And so zone 2 training activates this parasympathetic nervous system that keeps us in a resilient state, meaning if we swing into fight or flight, we quickly swing out into rest and digest because we have built a nervous system that is very resilient. So, zone 2 training for many people looks like brisk walking. A 20-minute brisk walk falls into this zone 2 training and improves your nervous system health and improves your cardiovascular health. It's interesting to think that as much media that we see about women and breast cancer, the number one killer of women is actually cardiovascular disease. And so, this is why I truly feel that investing in your cardiovascular health is an great asset to your life because it is the number one killer of women that can be combat with proper training. Now let's talk about strength training. So, how do we strength train efficiently to build muscle that ultimately improves our longevity and improves our business health? Because if we're strong, we are more productive, we're in less pain, we're less distracted, all the things. So, strength training is simple when broken down into manageable parts. First off, let's talk about what is a rep and what is a set. A rep is just the repetitions of one movement that you perform. A set is doing that amount of repetitions again at another time. To truly build muscle fibers and grow them so that you do have more lean muscle mass, all you need is roughly 8 to 12 repetitions and 3 to 4 sets of that movement. Doing this 2 to 3 times a week is going to build lean muscle mass and improve overall health. Sounds so easy, right? Well, we all know that it's not that easy. I think the thing that holds people back from performing this is thinking that the movement has to be complex or unfamiliar. And this is not true. You can pick any movement that feels familiar and comfortable to you and apply a weight to that movement that is so heavy that if you were to do that movement 12 times total, you could only do 3 more before you failed. This is what it means to progressively overload consistently to build muscle. So, say I chose a squat, something that's very familiar. If I held a 20 to 30 pound weight in my hands and did 12 of those, if I was like, oh my gosh, I can't do any more if I did 3 more, that's the right weight for you. And this is what it says under that first column on the left here. 60 to 85% of your 1 rep max is the appropriate weight to build muscle. That term doesn't mean a whole lot to a lot of people, so that's why right underneath it I included, could you do 3 more after 12 reps? Because that is often indicative of that ratio of 1 rep max, and that's easy to gauge. We could apply that exact same example to a bicep curl. Say you were holding a 10-pound dumbbell and you did 12 bicep curls. You're like, oh, I could only do a couple more before I'd have to put this down. That is the appropriate weight for you. And doing that 3 to 4 sets, 2 to 3 times a week, builds the appropriate arm strength you need to improve many different factors, not only joint health, but metabolic health and that glucose reabsorption that we talked about earlier. So, why build strength other than metabolic health? Strength training also improves bone health. And many people don't know, but 1 in 2 women are affected by what's called osteoporosis. Osteoporosis is loss of bone density. When we think about getting older, especially if you are the part of the sandwich generation, maybe you're taking care of kids and grandkids and you're taking care of your parents, falls are something that are probably on your mind regularly with your parents. And when thinking about falls, what people don't know is hip fractures more likely occur and cause a fall rather than the fall causing the fracture. So, aging, if we lose bone density, what happens is that loss, lose until that bone can no longer support your weight. You get up to walk, that bone gives way, and you fall. And what is such a horrible thought is that 20 to 30% of women who fall and have a hip fracture or have a hip fracture and fall will pass away within that first year after the hip fracture. The other thing is, even if you don't face mortality with a hip fracture, only 50% of women return to their previous activity level. So, this is why osteoporosis really does matter so much for your business health and your overall wellness, because fractures do ultimately lead to mortality in women. Okay, and here's my favorite slide. It's not as pretty, but all of these pictures mean so much to me. And I briefly want to touch on women's health topics that I think everybody should know. And it kind of brings together all of the topics that we've discussed: metabolic health, bone health, lean muscle mass importance, risk of falls, etc. So first off, I want you to look at this bottom row, the middle picture. This picture probably looks foreign to most of you, and that's okay, but we're basically looking down into the pelvis. These are the pelvic floor muscles. This is the area that I specialize in, so I can't help but be so overly enthusiastic about sharing this topic with you. The pelvic floor muscles do so much more than we give them credit for. They aid in walking, they aid in pressure management, so our ability to support our spine and hips. They aid in urine and bowel control, which we saw in that first couple slides that can lead to isolation and avoidance in business owners and women. And so these muscles do a great job. But what people don't know is in the top row, the left side of the screen, you see this canister-like shape. The pelvic floor and our diaphragm, which helps us breathe, and our deep core muscles create the pressure management system we need to support our internal organs. And so, a common question for female patients are questions about post-hysterectomy or pelvic organ prolapse occurrences. And both of those topics relate to this canister and pressure management effect, because as women, especially, our core and our pelvic floor go through quite the journey if you have kiddos. And so rehabilitating this deep core and pelvic floor ultimately reduces your risks of falls and mortality as we age, because urinary incontinence and urinary frequency is the reason people wake up at night. And nighttime is the most likely time to fall because it's dark, you're disoriented, you're half asleep. So the pelvic floor is important for now, but it's also really important for later. Then in the top row, this middle picture, this is a picture of our deep core muscles. Our deep core muscles support our lower back and they support our pelvic floor. So, fun fact is that 80% of Americans will report low back pain at some time in their life. If more patients had good deep core control and pelvic floor support, this incidence would go way down because the spine is greater supported during everyday tasks. Then the far right picture, this is a picture of the back of the hips, and it's showing the deep hip muscles. These muscles aid in walking speed, which we know improves longevity, and it reduces our risk of falls. So ultimately, this improves our longevity as well. And then the last two pictures here on the bottom, this is looking at the importance of bowel health and how it's related to your physical health. So if we have appropriate pressure in our core and appropriate down training or bulging of the pelvic floor, we can have better bowel movements. And why does that matter? Why is that one of our greatest assets? From a preventative lens, appropriate bowel movements reduce the risk of colon cancer, and that is a cancer that's the third leading cancer in America, and it's on the rise in younger patients, which can be daunting. So I think it's so fun to teach people this easy trick about their bowel health. And I really want you guys to try it at home because I think it will make a big difference in your life and your morning routine and how happy you are the rest of the day in your business. So if you are on the toilet, I encourage you to get a stool to lift your feet up. And while you're having a bowel movement, shift your breathing from this, oh, where you hold your breath, to this. This change in breathing is going to improve your ability to have an appropriate bowel movement, which reduces your overall abdominal discomfort and bloating, which can cascade into a day of unpleasant sensations. And then on this bottom right photo, this is actually a picture of our colon. And I highlighted this because if you can imagine getting your heart rate up with the cardiovascular training that is great for your nervous system, it is going to improve blood flow to your colon, which improves motility and reduces the risk of constipation. Constipation is such an interesting phenomenon because we know that 1 in 6 women are constipated, which is very prevalent. And this blood flow to the colon can also be stimulated by belly rubs. So if you have grandkids or kiddos that struggle with constipation and you have heard belly rubs recommended to reduce their constipation, this works in adults too. Deep abdominal pressure and cardiovascular health are two very easy, free ways of reducing constipation, which ultimately improves the rest of our day. Okay, the last women's health topic that I don't have a picture for, but I know it gets a lot of media and buzz, and then I will let you guys go, is hormone health. We know that hormones impact our ability to have bowel movements and our ability to build muscle and bone. So if you are someone who is curious about hormone health, I think that is not a topic worth pushing to the wayside because ultimately, if it improves your cardiovascular health, your lean muscle mass, and your bone density, it will improve your longevity and be a an investment worth making. Well, thank you guys so much for hearing this topic on why your physical health is your greatest asset. I hope it sparked your excitement for strength training, cardiovascular training, or even just asking more questions to your providers about your physical health and how you can optimize it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jane. Very informative information. I also want to let everybody know Dr. Jane will be at our luncheon on Thursday. And so if you have any questions, you can meet her and talk to her a little bit on Thursday. Thank you so much. We also want to just encourage you to join us tomorrow here at 10 o'clock in the morning. Our next speaker tomorrow will be Ariel Gray. We also want to remind everybody this evening is our Ladies Night Out networking event presented by Edward Jones and Georgia Pacific. This will be your chance to get your professional headshot with Mandy Lundy Photography and network with other women leadership conference attendees. So this event will start at 4:30 p.m. at the River City at Three Forks Harbor. We hope you ladies can come out. This is a great networking event tonight. Also, we want to remind you tomorrow to meet us at Queen City around 7:30 in the morning. It's another networking opportunity. It's our Queen City and Company for Coffee and Connections presented by Premier USA. Also, just a reminder, the speaker sessions are recorded. If you would like to catch up on a speaker you missed or rewatch today's session, visit the link provided in your email for today's session. What a great Tuesday it's been. Now we end the day with prize time, which is exciting. We're going to spin the wheel. Our gift today is from Chop Watson's Chop House, a gift card to that. So that's exciting. Spinning the wheel. The winner is Dana Baker. How exciting for her. She has won this gift card from Watson's Chop House. Thank you everyone for attending today. It's been a wonderful Tuesday. We hope you have an amazing day and we'll see you here tomorrow morning for our next Zoom call.